My wife invites me to a party. When I find out the format of this party, she directly said that she wants to sleep with this guy. Emma was fuming, and her anger was palpable as I drove us home from a gathering at the Johnsons' house. My name is James Carter. How did I know she was furious? It was evident from her body language she was crammed into the farthest corner of the passenger seat, radiating displeasure. Her scowl could have curdled milk. What had I done to make her so mad I had made a massive mistake, embarrassing her in front of her friends and ruining her evening? I felt awful about it. After 10 years of marriage and 3 kids, I had never seen her this angry. What was my blunder? I grabbed the wrong key. The Johnsons were famous for their wild parties, and Emma had been excited to join. Unfortunately, these weren't the type of parties I enjoyed. We had never attended one before, but Emma secured an invite through mutual friends. She conveniently omitted one crucial detail: this party was far from ordinary. She left out the part where all the wives were supposed to throw their house keys into a bowl, and the husbands would pick a key and spend the night with the corresponding wife for some not-so-innocent fun. As the party wound down, I realized what was about to happen and panicked. I had never been so furious with Emma before. I grabbed her arm and dragged her into the kitchen. "Did you know this party was going to end like this?" I demanded. She gave me a sly smile. "Yeah, I did. And you didn't think to tell me before we came?" "No, because I knew you wouldn't agree unless you had to." "Well, I definitely don't agree, and I always have a choice. We're leaving. We can't leave now. It would be rude. You'll embarrass me. Besides, it's just for one night. It'll add some excitement to our marriage. I can do without that kind of excitement. Let's go. We need some excitement, James. I need it just for one night. I want to be more than just a wife and mother. It's only one night, and it won't happen again. Plus, I already put our key in the bowl, so we can't back out now. No way." "It's not too late," I said firmly, dragging her back into the living room where everyone was gathered around the bowl of keys, ready to pick their partners for the night. Emma tried to resist, but I let her go and stepped up to the bowl. "I wasn't informed about this part of the party," I announced loudly. "I'm not sharing my wife with any of you." I sifted through the keys until I found ours with the red plastic cover and held it up. I wasn't told about these rules beforehand. I don't believe in cheating, and my marriage vows mean everything to me. There were murmurs of discontent, and a few people shot me angry looks, but I didn't care. I turned to Emma, who was glaring at me with fury. "Emma, you need to decide right now. Come with me and forget this nonsense, or stay and never come home again. I'm leaving." All eyes were on Emma, who flushed with embarrassment. She hesitated before speaking. "I'm sorry for my husband's behavior. I'd love to stay, but I better leave given the circumstances." Reluctantly and with clear anger, she followed me out to the car. "You're such a selfish jerk," she yelled once we were inside. "How could you embarrass me like that in front of everyone? We'll never get invited back there again." "Embarrass you, Emma? What about how you embarrass me by not telling me about your plan to be with someone else tonight? You would have been with another wife, so we both would have had fun." "I don't want to be with another woman, Emma. I reserve that for you. After 10 years of marriage, it's disturbing to hear you want to be with someone else. It would just be one time, James. Out of all the nights we've spent together, it's just one night with someone else. After being a good wife for 10 years, isn't that reasonable?" "Actually, Emma, it's not. I can't believe what I'm hearing. Does this mean so much to you?" "Yes, James, it does. I've been looking forward to this for weeks. It's my chance to be more than just a wife and mother, to have an adventure, to be admired, and to have some fun with another man for a few hours." "You mean sleeping with someone other than your husband?" "Well, that's a blunt way to put it, but yes, that's a big part of it." I slammed on the brakes, did a U-turn, and sped back to the Johnsons' house. "James, what are you doing?" Emma screamed. "If spending a night with another man means that much to you, then go ahead and do it." I stopped in front of their house, noting that all the cars were still there. "Looks like you're not too late to join in. Get out and enjoy your night with some random guy. I hope he satisfies you in ways I can't." "James, it's just an adventure. You're perfect for me, but I can't go in there alone. We both have to participate. I already said I want no part of it. I've never cheated on you, and I won't until we're not married anymore." "What does that mean?" "It means exactly what I said. It's decision time for you, Emma. So if you're going for it, go be with your cheating friends. They'll welcome a beautiful woman like you, even without her husband." Emma reached for the door handle, then paused, thinking hard. Her tone softened. Would you pick me up tomorrow morning, James? From wherever I end up? I'll call and let you know. It would mean a lot to me. Not a chance. But I'm sure your new guy will give you a ride after spending the night with you. You're making it sound so bad, James. He won't be my lover, just someone I'm close with for one night. I love you, James. You're the only man for me. Do you really believe that? There's no way you could love me and still do what you're planning. Let me get this straight. You just want someone new for intimacy, right? You want a new guy to impregnate you? That's harsh, James. You know I'm on birth control, so I won't get pregnant. It's just one night with someone new. It'll be thrilling. Ever wondered what it's like to be with someone new? Just a new experience with different feelings, everything fresh. Trust me, it'll spice things up for us. Enjoy your time with someone new, Emma. Do you understand what you're about to do? I asked, my voice thick with disbelief. It's only one night, James. Is that really too much to ask? She shot back, her tone icy. Even a moment is too much, I argued. We have the rest of our lives together. If you go through with this, we won't have anything together. James, you're blowing this way out of proportion. I won't let you ruin this night for me. I want a little time with someone new, and you're not going to stop me. I'm doing this, and you need to accept it. Got it? I'll be back in the morning, and you'll forget all about this. No, Emma, you don't get it. If you do this, by tomorrow, our marriage will be over. I won't be able to look at you the same way after you've been with another man. Don't be ridiculous, James. I belong to you, and you'll still want me. I'll make sure of that. Listen, Emma, if you go back into that house, we're finished. Your one night will destroy everything we've built together. You're being dramatic, James. We're married, and we'll stay that way. We're meant to be together. I love you, and I know you love me. We'll get through this. I promise. You're breaking my heart, Emma. Don't be so melodramatic. Think of this as me having a little adventure. It's an adventure for you, but it's the end for us. Stop talking nonsense, James. I'll change your mind in the morning, and you know it. Do you really think I could touch you after you've been with someone else? You will, James, and much more. I'll make sure of it. God, I never realized how naive you are. Get out. My words seemed to shock her, but she opened the car door and started to step out. I'll see you in the morning, James. I shook my head, feeling a deep sadness. No, Emma, you won't. As soon as she closed the door, I hit the gas and sped away, leaving skid marks on the road. I glanced in the rearview mirror and saw her standing there stunned and motionless. I hoped she would call me immediately, admitting she was wrong and begging me to come back for her, but she didn't. She probably thought I'd be upset for a few days, and then she could smooth things over by being extra affectionate. She was so wrong. My father always said that if a woman even considered cheating, she'd already mentally crossed that line. And if a married woman was seriously thinking about it, she'd already broken her vows. As much as it hurt, she ended our marriage tonight, and I had to move forward. The real tragedy here was our 3 kids, 9-year-old Lily, 8-year-old Ethan, and 4-year-old James Jr. How could I imagine life without them every day? But I couldn't let Emma's betrayal go unanswered. The kids were with my mom for the weekend, giving me time to think. I drove around aimlessly, still hoping Emma would call and ask me to pick her up, but it soon became clear she had made her choice. I finally settled on a plan and drove home. Just as I pulled into the driveway, my phone rang. I hoped it was Emma, but the caller ID showed it wasn't her. I answered anyway. There was loud music and laughter in the background, and a man's voice came through. Hey James, it's Kevin Sanders from the party. Your wife gave me your number. She's hoping I can talk some sense into you. She's really excited about tonight and wants you to be part of it too. You're a lucky guy. Every guy here hopes they get her key. She keeps saying someone's in for a memorable night. Come back and join us. There are some hot ladies here eager to have fun with you. Go to hell, Kevin Sanders, you manipulative bastard, and screw everyone else at your party, including my cheating wife. I hope you all suffer. I hung up and went inside. It took me less than 20 minutes to pack 2 suitcases with enough clothes for a week or two. I grabbed my laptop and shaving kit and loaded everything into the car. I found our wedding license, tore it into pieces, then smashed my wedding ring with a hammer. It took a few hits to flatten it, but once I did, I placed the pieces on Emma's pillow, locked the door, and drove off into the night. I wanted to find a motel a few miles outside of town, but first, I swung by the Johnsons' place again. Some cars had already left the party, and a few people were outside chatting as they paired up for the night. I didn't see Emma, so I figured she had either left with her new partner or was with Mr. Johnson himself. The motel I found was in the next town over. It wasn't fancy, but it had parking in the back, which would keep my car out of sight if anyone was looking for it. After securing the car, I bought a 6-pack of beer from the convenience store next door and settled in to watch some TV. The first 2 beers calmed me down, and as I opened the third, my phone rang. It was Emma, but since I knew she was calling for me to pick her up, I let it go to voicemail. James, you're being ridiculous about this. Kevin Sanders told me what you said to him. I've told you countless times it's just one night. I'm just trying something new with one guy, and that doesn't make me a bad person. I promise, even if I'm a little sore, I'll make it up to you when I get home tomorrow. Oh, and since you took our house key out of the bowl, they made a new one for me. The guy who got it, his name's Robert, and he seems nice. He's married with kids like us. Since you're at our house, I went home with him. His wife and her partner for the night are here too, but they're in a different part of the house, far enough away that we won't hear each other when things get heated. You know how loud I can be when we're together. She giggled. Listen, I know you're upset, but I promise I won't let him do anything we haven't done. I told Robert we should keep it simple, maybe just some regular stuff. Robert agreed, especially since it's my first time with someone else. He said, hell, drop me off tomorrow, and I'll make sure to clean up before I come home. No sloppy seconds for you. Sweet dreams, lover. See you in the morning. Get ready for some fun. Love you, James. I felt like I was going to throw up. I never realized I was married to such a selfish and foolish woman. Emma had always been a bit naive, which was part of her charm, but now her naivety had crossed a line, destroying our marriage and potentially affecting our kids. Did she really think I'd take her back after she let another man touch her and then rubbed it in my face? I was certain everyone at the party had a good laugh at my expense. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and angry, and it seemed like Emma couldn't care less. Ignoring her message seemed like the wise thing to do, but I couldn't help myself. I called her, and she picked up after the third ring. Hey, honey, Robert and I just got comfy in bed, so I can't talk long. Shut up, Emma. This might be the last time you hear from me. You have no idea what you've done, but you'll find out soon enough. Enjoy your time with Robert because the consequences will be far worse than you can imagine. Understand this, Emma. Once Robert touches you, our marriage is over. Do you hear me? Over. I never thought I'd say this, but I hate you more right now than I ever loved you. I can't wait to be done with you completely. My lawyer will be in touch next week. I hung up. She called back within seconds, but I let it go to voicemail. James, she began, her voice shaky. Why are you doing this? How could you say those things to me? I'm your wife. Can't you just let me have this one night? Robert and I just started, and now you're ruining it for me. We're not getting divorced. I'll be home in the morning, and we can talk this out. I'd come home now, but I promised Robert I'd stay with him tonight. Please, James, I need this. He got my key, and I promised him he could have me. He really wants this, and yeah, right now as I'm talking to you, I have to go. Robert is ready. He's ready. I love you, James. Please don't end our marriage over this. I can't help it. He's here now. Oh God, please, oh yes, please try to understand. Then whispering to him, oh yeah, Robert, this is my night. She continued, see you in the morning, darling. Unable to restrain myself, I called her back. This time it rang several times before going to voicemail. Robert must have been with her. I left a message. From your last voicemail, it's clear Robert is already with you and you're enjoying it. Spend the night with him, experiencing all the new sensations he's giving you. Emma, you've shattered my heart, and I'll never forgive you. It's great that you could keep your promise to Robert, a man you just met, but you couldn't keep your marriage vows to me, who's loved you and stayed faithful for over 10 years. I don't even recognize you anymore. You won't see me in the morning, and you might never see me again. You'll receive divorce papers next week, and I'll be charging you with adultery. Now that Robert is doing what only I should be allowed to do, you're officially a cheater. You can cheat with any man you want from now on, but in case you care, you've lost me forever, and I'll definitely keep that promise. Emma didn't call back. She was likely too absorbed in her time with Robert. She always got lost in the moment, forgetting everything else. They were undoubtedly focused on each other. I wasn't sure if she got my last message, but it didn't matter. The damage was done and our marriage was over. I could never take her back after she disrespected and humiliated me like that. I finished the rest of the 6-pack, trying to drown out my pain. Emma was always loud in bed, and I was sure she was the same with Robert. The beer helped, and I eventually fell asleep, tears still streaming down my face. I woke up about 4 hours later, reality crashing down on me. My wife had betrayed me, and now I had to figure out how to protect my kids, get Emma out of my life, and ensure those at the party felt the consequences. We lived in Oakwood, Mississippi, a beautiful town on the Gulf of Mexico. Since Mississippi allows divorce based on adultery, I could avoid paying alimony and maybe even get custody of my children. I needed a top-notch lawyer, and I needed one fast. I took a shower and changed clothes. At 7:30, I called my mother to fill her in on what was happening. She was just as shocked as I was about Emma. She had the kids for the weekend and assured me she wouldn't say anything to them. I told her I'd pick them up once I had a plan. I assumed Emma would likely get custody, at least for now. It was hard to admit, but she had been a good mother and wife up until last night. After I hung up with my mom, I went to the diner nearby for breakfast. As I parked and headed towards the door, my phone rang. It was Emma. I debated answering but decided against it, letting it go to voicemail. She didn't leave a message, though. Instead, she called back immediately, repeatedly, until she finally left a message, sobbing. "James, answer the damn phone. Talk to me. What do you mean I may never see you again? And what's all this talk about divorce papers? You can't leave me, James. We have 3 precious kids who need us both. Why did you tear up our marriage license and smash your wedding ring? I gave you that ring on our wedding day, and you promised to wear it forever. It's a symbol of our eternal love. I knew you'd be upset with me, but I never expected you to go this far. James, I love you deeply, but I really needed that special night with Robert. It meant a lot to me. He made me feel alive and young again. I forgot how exhilarating it is to laugh and scream at the same time. But as incredible as last night was, you're the only man for me, James. I know how to make it up to you and ease your hurt feelings. Please come home so I can show you how much I love you and make things right." She started crying, and it was hard to make out her words. "James, why can't you see I just needed one night with someone new to feel desired and wanted again? It felt amazing to know another man desired me and found me beautiful enough to want me. Please, James, try to understand. It was just a moment, nothing more. Please talk to me. I love you. You and our kids mean everything to me." Her voice grew weaker. "It was just, oh God, we just had. Oh, James, we just did it." And she continued sobbing until the message ended. I stood outside the diner completely stunned. Had Emma been harboring these feelings throughout our entire marriage? And now, in her mid-30s, they suddenly surfaced? Emma, at 35 and 130 pounds, still exudes the beauty that once captivated me. Her dark blonde hair cascades to her shoulders, and her light blue eyes sparkle with the same intensity. She has a stunning figure, with breasts perfectly proportioned and hips slightly wider after bearing our 3 children. She effortlessly draws attention wherever she goes, yet she claims she needs to feel desired by another man. I've always been attentive, showing her my love and desire every day. Flowers, weekly dates, and daily compliments on her beauty, and my love for her were my routine. Until last night, I believed our intimate life was extraordinary. We made love several times a week, and I always ensured she was satisfied. How did I miss the signs? Despite losing my appetite, I entered the diner and ordered scrambled eggs, toast, and black coffee. I couldn't eat, but I downed 6 cups of coffee, feeling utterly lost and devastated. For the first time, I truly understood why people say they wish they were dead. The thought of my children kept me going. I needed to be there for them, to navigate this nightmare Emma had thrust upon us, and to build a future for them. This thought filled me with determination. I would persevere, I just needed to figure out how. Emma bombarded my phone with calls that day, but I let them all go to voicemail. She begged for understanding, yet never once apologized. She didn't admit any wrongdoing. Instead, she claimed she needed that night and expected my support. They had sex 3 times that night, and once in the morning. She worried about not turning her phone off in time, fearing I overheard them, especially Robert. She hoped I hadn't heard too much. Her cruelty astounded me, yet I now had solid audio evidence of her infidelity for the court. Though unsure if it would be sufficient, the recordings were damning and left no room for doubt. I planned to find a lawyer the next day and gather all necessary information. I visited my children at my mom's place, Mom said Emma had called to check on the kids and inquire about me. She told Emma I was too upset to talk. Emma cried, saying I didn't understand. Mom retorted that no man could understand a wife flaunting an affair in his face. Emma asked if she should pick up the kids, but Mom suggested they stay a few more days until things settled down. The kids were happy to see me but asked about their mom. I told them she was busy with something important and that they'd be staying with Grandma a bit longer. We played games and had dinner together before I hugged and kissed them goodbye, returning to my motel. Tomorrow would be a busy day. Before ending the night, I decided to drive by the house. Tears welled up as I approached, mourning the loss of what once was. No unfamiliar cars were in the driveway, though there might be one in the garage. Seeing only the kitchen light on, I guessed Emma was alone, at least for tonight. It hit me I still had feelings for her despite her betrayal. The thought of her with another man hurt deeply. I tried to resist spying but couldn't. Parking a block away, I walked back to peek through the kitchen window. She sat at the table, an empty vodka bottle beside her. Her hair was messy, mascara streaked down her face. Wearing a robe, she rested her head on the table, eyes closed, surrounded by tissues. For a moment I felt sorry for her, but then I remembered her betrayal, and my sympathy vanished. I wanted to lash out, but instead walked back to my car and drove off. There was a hint of satisfaction. Maybe she was starting to realize the gravity of her actions. If she wanted pity, she could call her lover Robert. Monday came early with a packed agenda. At the diner, I had eggs, toast, and coffee, finishing everything this time. I called my mom and reassured my kids of my love, promising to see them soon. Then I informed work I needed a few days for personal matters, letting my assistant know she could contact me for urgent issues. She sensed something was wrong, but I didn't elaborate, promising to explain later. Back in my final year at Ole Miss, I shared an apartment with Jake Thompson and Mark Wilson. Despite the years, we stayed connected. I majored in computer science, Jake in business administration, and Mark pursued law. I called Jake, asking if he and Mark could meet for drinks at 5. I needed their advice on a serious matter. Jake agreed and reached out to Mark. We met at the Ocean View bar by the beach. I arrived early, and Mark showed up shortly after, followed by Jake. We greeted warmly and found a table on the patio, ordering drinks. "What's up, James?" Jake asked. "You sounded serious." "Emma cheated on me and made sure I knew," I confided, recounting the entire story. "Dang, that's rough," Jake said. "I can't even imagine her doing that," Mark added. "Yeah, she did it without shame or regret and still thinks I'm overreacting." "Can you believe it?" "So what's your plan?" Mark asked. "I want a divorce and to teach Robert a lesson, whoever he is, along with the other guys at the party. But mostly, I want custody of my kids." "Getting custody might be tough, James," Mark cautioned. "Unless Emma's been neglectful as a mother, like bringing random men into the house while the kids are around, you'll have a tough time getting custody. If she's been a decent mom overall, she'll likely get custody, and you'll be stuck with child support," Mark pointed out. "I'm okay with that, as long as I can still see them whenever I want," I replied. "That's doable," Mark nodded. "Courts usually prefer both parents to be involved if they're both fit." "What about finances?" Jake asked. "Emma stays home with the kids, and you're pulling in a good 6-figure salary. What have you got? Checking, savings, investments, 401ks, IRAs? I have all of those. Altogether, it's probably around 700 or 800 grand, maybe more," I answered. "The court will likely split that evenly and give Emma the house in custody. But if you can prove her cheating, which it sounds like you can, you might avoid paying alimony," Mark explained. "Do you know a really good divorce lawyer? Actually, one of the partners at my firm is a top family law attorney in Mississippi. Her name is Ella Hastings. Want me to set up a meeting?" "Absolutely, the sooner the better." "In the meantime," Jake suggested, "I'll see what I can do to protect your finances. Send me details on every dollar you have, and I'll get started." We raised our glasses once more, had a few more drinks, and then called it a night. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt a sliver of relief. As I drove back to my motel, my mind raced with everything I needed to do. My phone rang. It was Emma. After a moment of hesitation, I pulled over and answered. "What do you want, Emma?" I asked bluntly. "I want my husband back home where he belongs," she cried. "Well, your little fling with Robert makes that impossible," I replied firmly. She burst into tears. "Don't say that, James. It was just one night. That's not enough for a divorce." Adultery is more than enough grounds for divorce in Mississippi. Why do you keep calling it adultery? It was just one night with someone new, just a fling. When a married woman sleeps with someone new, even for one night, it's adultery. I warned you about this, Emma. Oh God, James, you can't do this to me. You brought this on yourself, Emma. What happened to you? Are you on pills, having a breakdown, or just unbelievably selfish? You didn't care about our kids or what I wanted. You just had to do it. Now you face the consequences. I thought we had a good life, a happy family, and a great connection. But you destroyed all that by sleeping with a stranger. We were happy, James. I just wanted to see what it was like with someone new, just once. No harm done. No harm? You shattered our family in one night. You've broken my heart and shown no regard for my feelings. Remember me, your husband? The one who loves you unconditionally and works tirelessly for our family? You betrayed me, disregarded our vows, and now you expect me to be okay with it? I didn't mean to hurt you, James. I just wanted to try something new. I love you. It wasn't about you. It was something I felt I needed. That's where you went wrong, Emma. You disregarded me completely. Your night with Robert was about you, with no thought for me or our children. You thought you deserved a special night, but it cost you your marriage and damaged your reputation with family and friends. Maybe someday you'll forgive, but I'll never forget, and I'll make sure everyone knows what you did. You called me a big baby for being upset about your adultery. Let's see how you handle it when everyone knows you let Robert have you multiple times. No, James, please. My parents would be devastated. Too bad, Emma. You should have thought about that before you made your bed. Now lie in it. You seem to think this is no big deal, like getting a ticket. You threw away a solid marriage for a one-night stand. Was it worth it? I didn't think I'd lose everything, James. I thought you'd love me enough to understand. No one in their right mind would support their spouse cheating for the sake of trying something new. It doesn't work like that. What were you thinking, Emma? What made you do it? I didn't think it would bother you that much. What's the big deal about me sleeping with another guy a few times? It didn't change anything. I'm still yours. I just wanted to try something new once, and then commit to you again. But that showed a complete lack of respect for me. I pleaded with you not to do it, Emma. You went ahead and destroyed what we built over the last decade. Those vows we made were sacred to me. Our bond gave us 3 incredible children who adore us. We were a united family. But now, you've given away a part of yourself that was supposed to be mine alone. And for what? A fleeting thrill? A meaningless fling? You call it a momentary lapse, but to me, it's a profound betrayal of everything we stood for. You got someone else, and you got it. But in doing so, you threw away everything we valued. Part of me still cares, but I can't be with you anymore. Why are you being so difficult, James? It was just something I needed to do for myself. It doesn't change anything between us. Everything has changed, Emma. You're no longer mine alone. I begged you not to do this. I can't just forgive and forget. You betrayed me, and that's a wound that won't heal. I'm getting a lawyer and filing for divorce tomorrow, citing your infidelity. I'll name Robert and every other person involved. Think about the fallout when everyone finds out you're responsible for their social circle collapsing. Go to hell, Emma, and take your flings with you. Stepping into Ella Hastings' office felt like finding a beacon of hope amidst the chaos. She was sharp and unyielding, cutting straight to the core of the issue. She asked why I was seeking a divorce and what I hoped to achieve. I laid it all out. I wanted to split my assets with Emma, possibly giving her the house in exchange for less cash. I also knew that winning full custody of my kids was unlikely, but I demanded unrestricted access to them and wanted to avoid alimony. I played the recordings I had of Emma's admissions. Ella shook her head, astonished that Emma had been so reckless. We may need a voice recognition expert to confirm it's her, she said. But unless we encounter a very lenient judge, these recordings should be enough. We spent the next hour discussing my objectives concerning Robert and the others at the wife-swapping event. Ella was skeptical about getting financial compensation from them, but suggested we could publicly expose their activities to cause them embarrassment. I agreed that would suffice. I paid her retainer and asked her to serve Emma quickly. She promised to keep me updated. On Tuesday afternoon, I picked up my kids from my mom's house and took them back to Emma's. When she saw them, she hugged and kissed them lovingly. She reached out to me, but I stepped back, causing her to tear up and plead for me to stay. I told her I couldn't, but I thought it best for the kids to be home with her, and I'd pick them up for the weekend. Emma looked like she was struggling, and while I felt a twinge of sympathy, I reminded myself that she had brought this on herself. Her tough time was nothing compared to the anguish she had caused me. On Wednesday, I returned to work. I couldn't afford to neglect my job. I needed the stability, not just for the income, but for my sanity. Dwelling on Emma's betrayal would drive me mad, and I couldn't let that happen for the sake of my children. On Thursday, I met Jake and Mark for dinner at the restaurant, where we enjoyed charbroiled oysters and dirty martinis. I updated them on the kids and the divorce proceedings. Jake had researched ways to safeguard some of my money, and I gave him the green light to proceed. It might not be much, but it was something. Together, we devised a plan to cause trouble for the wife-swapping group without legal repercussions. Mark had a friend who worked as a reporter for the local newspaper. He suggested writing an editorial hinting at the prevalence of wife-swapping in our town and implying the involvement of certain business owners without naming names. By getting photos of couples entering and leaving the meetings, we could stir up enough controversy to disrupt the group. I shared what little information I had, and Mark agreed to start investigating. With our plan in motion, we parted ways. The weekend with my kids was amazing. We went shopping for new clothes, watched a Disney movie, and spent a whole day at the beach, swimming and playing frisbee. My children were my top priority, and I vowed to always be there for them. Monday morning, Mark called me. His friend at the newspaper liked the story idea and was working on getting photos of the couples entering and leaving the Johnsons' house. Even if their faces were blurred, in a small town like ours, news travels fast. If everything went according to plan, this scandal could make headlines by the end of the week. I kept my fingers crossed. Emma continued to call, begging me to come back, promising she'd do anything to make things right, yet she never apologized or acknowledged her mistake. On Wednesday, my lawyer informed me that Emma would be served with the divorce papers on Friday morning. Jake also called with good news. He'd managed to secure about a third of my money by putting it in our kids' names. Mark followed up with news that his reporter friend had discovered the Swingers Club would be meeting again on Friday night at the Johnsons'. The reporter planned to stake out in an unmarked van across the street, taking photos of everyone who attended. He also wanted another interview with me about the party. If everything went smoothly, the article would be published the following week. For the first time in a while, I felt a glimmer of hope. Friday came, and I waited for Emma's inevitable call after she received the divorce papers. Right on cue, it came at 2:30. My lawyer confirmed she'd been served. Moments later, my phone rang again, and seeing Emma's name, I couldn't help but chuckle. I thought about letting it go to voicemail, but decided against it. "Hey, Emma, what's up?" I answered. "What on earth did you do, James?" Her voice was sharp and accusatory. "I filed for divorce, just like I said I would," I replied calmly. "And I told you there wouldn't be a divorce. You filed for adultery?" "Spending one night with another man isn't adultery, James. I have to disagree with you there, Emma. According to Mississippi law, having sex with someone other than your spouse is considered adultery, and Robert definitely qualifies." She started crying. "Why are you being so cruel, James? I love you. All Robert did was have sex with me a few times. It was just a fling." "Oh, my mistake, Emma. I must have misunderstood that having sex outside of marriage isn't adultery. How could I have gotten that wrong? Let it go, Emma. It's done. I warned you countless times and pleaded with you not to do it, but you did it anyway. Now you have to face the consequences, and soon enough, you'll realize that your troubles aren't over yet. Goodbye, Emma. Have a miserable life." And I hung up. The hardest part was that I still had feelings for Emma. Maybe I always would, but I couldn't trust her anymore, and I couldn't stay married to someone who cheated. I knew I shouldn't go to the Johnsons' on Friday night, but I couldn't resist driving by just once to see what was going on. I also wanted to check if Emma's car was there, even though I doubted she'd attend this time. Her car wasn't there, but she could have gone with someone else. They usually only allowed couples, but they made an exception for her once, so who's to say they wouldn't do it again? I noticed a van parked across the street, likely where the reporter was. I wished him luck in exposing the scandal. The results came quickly. The next afternoon, Mark's reporter friend called asking for some insider information, which I gladly provided. He mentioned he had taken over 100 photos and recognized more than a dozen prominent couples from the city. Interestingly, They weren't the same couple seen leaving 2 hours later. Mark had given him a photo of my wife, and he confirmed she wasn't among those entering or leaving the Johnsons' house. He wanted me to describe what I saw and experienced during one of the key parties. I did my best to explain how the keys were placed into a bowl, even though I never saw the part where men picked a key and left with the woman it belonged to. I had a good idea from Emma's descriptions and overhearing other couples talking about past parties. Before we ended the call, he asked if he could hint that he knew of a marriage that ended because of the parties, leaving kids to deal with their parents' divorce. I agreed, as long as no names were mentioned. The article was published in the Sunday edition, causing quite a stir. It made the front page with a large photo of couples entering and leaving, their faces blurred. The story continued for 4 more pages, with numerous additional photos. Despite efforts to hide faces, it was easy to identify participants from their cars and clothes. By Monday, the story was the talk of the town. Several ministers were interviewed about the decline in morality, and civic leaders condemned the situation. Lawsuits were filed, but nothing substantial came of them. Some businesses lost customers, and many couples ended up in divorce court. To me, it was all a fitting payback for the pain I endured from losing my wife and family. Even if people realized I was cheated on, I didn't care. I had my revenge, and that was all that mattered. Emma kept trying to win me back for months, but I was resolute. The divorce went through, and I got joint custody of our kids. We split the time with them when I have them for the month. Emma gets them on weekends and vice versa. It's not ideal, but we're managing. Since Emma didn't contest anything in the divorce, I decided not to share the recordings of her confessing her affair with her family or friends. As for the couples involved in the key parties, some ended up divorcing and leaving town, likely due to the scandal. Emma has started dating again, though I'm not sure she fully understands why her actions hurt me so much. But that's her problem now, and I wish her future husband luck. I've gone on dates with a few nice women, but I haven't found the right one to settle down with yet. Some have suggested moving in together, but I'm still cautious about giving a woman a key to my place.